Kia ora team, and welcome to episode 27 of Yarns with Beef and Matt, brought to you by Alice Katie and Frog Grips. I'm Beef.
I'm Matt.
And today we are joined by 7-time CrossFit Games athlete. He's a certified sun chaser, and you might know him as Spartan from the new hit Gladiator AU series. But we know him as Khan Porter. How are you, brother?
I'm very good, thank you. Certified sun chaser. I like that one. It's new.
He spends about 5 minutes coming up with these. No
There was too many titles for you though, bro. I couldn't dumb it down. I just chose top 3.
I do not mind sun chaser at all.
Too easy. Hey, what we like to do when we start these, we want to know about the young Khan. The younger, you're still young, sir. The younger Khan Porter when he was a kid. What was he doing kicking around?
Oh, fuck. He was how young are we talking? Teenager was different to like preteen KP, but preteen KP was just a chubby little kid that had no idea how to fit into this world and was just, kind of playing video games around the ocean and just, trying to figure out how to make friends and not be a weirdo.
Yeah.
And teen KP?
He found girls and girls found him. And sports. He found sports and girls and life got a lot better for teen KP at around like 15, 16.
Yeah.
But life got a lot better, but then life got a lot, like life presented itself with different challenges in navigating that, going from basically being all but invisible, not even just invisible, but being like almost like a joke to the opposite sex. Like if I liked a girl, it was almost like everyone would tease that poor girl because the weirdo can't like her. And then that kind of changed in my teens. And then also just sport as well. Like I loved sport, but I was like uncoordinated. I was kind of not super naturally athletic when I was younger. And then I just kind of found my feet with sport, I matured quite quickly. I put on a bunch of muscle. I was kind of like 15, 16 and sort of had the same build I do now, but as a 16-year-old.
Right.
And obviously that helped with sports and stuff like that too. But then with that, I all of a sudden went from not really knowing how to fit in to having these things that kind of made me feel like I fit in. And with that though came its own like litany of, like weird kind of challenges in kind of navigating that, all of a sudden kind of feeling like I went from, not knowing how to fit into thinking that these things, being like girls liking me or being good at sport was somehow what, gave me value as a person. And I think that was had its own challenges to navigate.
Yeah. Did you understand that right away or were you pretty onto it at the start?
In hindsight, like definitely more so in hindsight. So it was fucking cool at the time. But I think that I always felt able to more once I kind of got that, had that source of external validation for these things. I did find it easier to then get to explore some of the things that, potentially I would never have done that I liked earlier. Like I loved drama and like carrying on and performing and, like all those kind of different things like art and writing and music and all these kind of things that I think when I was younger, I was too afraid to explore because I was so sure I'd get picked on for it, because basically I felt like anything I did when I was sort of primary school age up into my early teens would just get ridiculed. And then I kind of, once I really established myself playing sport and doing all that kind of stuff, I felt like I had that kind of base, that base level of identity to be able to do those things on top of. I felt more able to explore them, which was quite nice kind of in hindsight, but, it was still very hard. Not very hard. Hard's not the right fucking word. It was just an interesting time in my life, that's for sure. And I think it's an interesting time in my life, more so reflectively than at the time. I had a great teenage years, I think. Tumultuous, fun. It'd be like, I was going to write a book, could be the title, Tumultuous but Fun.
Yeah, sick.
Yeah. I don't usually go this deep this early, so feel free to tell me to fuck off and I want to talk about it. But
you got that look about you. You got deep early. Come on, brother.
You guys go. I'm going to turn that dishwasher off.
But that is very hard to believe from the outset. Obviously, we just see the stuff you posted on social. You seem very happy, very confident person, and I'm sure that you are a lot of the time. But What are things like at home during that time, bro? Like, what's the home environment like?
And like my parents are two of my favorite people on the planet. That's one of the interesting things. I mean, fuck yeah, I didn't expect to go this deep so quick.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
yeah,
that's what I mean.
childhood. It's kind of my childhood was such a like up until kind of like my early mid 20s was a very up until I guess really the Khan Porter that most people would know from social media and stuff like that came to exist. My life looked very different. And actually, I had a very interesting conversation with someone on social media the other day. This dude is actually like a really nice guy, and we've actually got to chatting afterwards, and you know, nothing but respect for him, and he seems like a top fella. But just like leaving comments on so many things that I would post, basically saying like, and even sometimes misconstruing things I would post to be like, basically being pissed off that I would say that I could say that I went through anything negative. He's like, you get sponsored and you're paid to be an athlete, and you know people would kill to have your life. And I understand that. Like I have a very very blessed life right now, and the calm porter that has existed on social media, which is how most people would know me. Like most people do not know me personally, or if they do know me personally, it's from very brief interactions in an environment like a CrossFit event or competition where I've got my fucking positive, let's go. Like I'm excited. I'm performing in those moments. Most people in this space would know me through that, but most people don't know me, and most people haven't known me for a long enough period of time to have seen what my life was like prior to making it in CrossFit, let's call it. And he was kind of just saying like, you know, it's annoying when you see these athletes and they post that stuff's hard for them, but like, and like he ended up opening up and telling me his own story from like his past and things that he went through and everything like that. And I can see where his frustration would lie in seeing these athletes that he essentially idolizes saying that they've experienced any hardship. But I think like hardship's relative, and I think people don't know the full story. So like my life up until I made it in CrossFit. Like there are things that at home we didn't have a lot of money growing up, and I had fucking even less money when I started CrossFit. Like when I was trying to crack it in the sport, I was making $400 a week, and of that, I mean, boys don't know much. I don't know if your boys have been to Sydney much, but to live in Sydney like back then, I rented a room in this boarding house that was affectionately known as the Crack Den amongst all my mates.
Wow.
And we still love about when I lived in the Crack Den. Like, you know, I moved out of this place because it was a shared communal toilet and they had all these little areas. It was all I could afford at the time. I went upstairs to go to the bathroom and stepped in shit. It was the middle of the night. Stepped in human feces on the floor in the fucking Crack Den. I was like, I gotta get the fuck. So like, there's this whole chapter in my story that people don't know about. But going back to like my family have been like they've been this kind of beautiful central like figure in all of my life. And I love my parents. My parents are incredible. Are they perfect? Absolutely not, but none of us are. And you know, having, you know, had the life that I've had up until this point, like I go to therapy. I'm in therapy once a week. It's the best thing I've ever fucking done is consistently going to therapy. And I look back on so much of my childhood and so much of kind of like things that happened to me when I was younger. And what was always quite an interesting thing was like my parents are the two most beautiful, caring human beings you'll ever come across. Probably so much so that within the home, we were quite sheltered isn't the right word, because we were given quite, like we were definitely shown, you know, like that life isn't all peaches and cream. It certainly wasn't a sheltered upbringing, but we're open-minded parents, but we were nurtured quite a lot. And then I found that like my parents were so loving and caring, and then I'd go out into the real world and I'd just get the shit kicked out of me, like physically and emotionally and psychologically, particularly when I was younger. So this like very strange contrast of like this beautiful, loving family home. I mean, both my parents are quite anxious by nature, so I know where I get that from, and I see it more. I get older, I'm like, can hell, like I think I had me and my dad had a bit of an argument. Like, I mean, geez, when I say an argument in my family lasts for 3 sentences, and then you're like, we love each other.
Yeah.
I said to him, I was just like, fuck me. You wonder, sometimes it's very clear to me where I get my anxiety from, just listening to them. But yeah, it's but other than that, yeah, they were amazing. Like my home life was awesome. I was the eldest of 3 boys, so I was always my dad's just a massive sports fan as well. He still to this day has been to every single CrossFit Games I've competed at. There's been years where he's had gone on his own. But yeah, I was basically from the moment I could play rugby, I was playing rugby. He's half Kiwi, half Cook Island Māori. So I was playing rugby from the moment that I was allowed, like legally allowed to, and main sport up until I was kind of in my early 20s. And any event that I wanted to do, any sport that I wanted to play, summer and winter, no matter how much it cost, no matter where it was, like we didn't have a lot of money, they always made sure that I could play those sports. So I was very lucky with my parents for sure.
Yeah, hard up, man. Just going on that side of things, I normally talk about the CrossFit, but the first time I remember you popping up was because I think it was 2000. I'm going to say 2017, and you were working with Are You Okay? I don't know if you still are with them or whatever, but that popped up to me, because I sort of had a little bit going on in my life too, and I was like, that's really cool, like a top, because no real CrossFitters were talking out about anything other than CrossFit at the time, I suppose. Too new of a sport, and no one was really talking out about anything. And I remember you doing that, and then you came to New Zealand for team nationals. Yes. And I remember getting a photo with you then. And so yes, for me, that's the whole reason I actually started. I knew you were a CrossFitter, but I never really followed you until you sort of came out and said, yeah, I struggle too. So I was like, that's pretty cool. So when do you reckon you were okay enough to sort of start talking about your journey in that light?
It's interesting. I would say that was the first real time. I think the first time I ever dipped my toe in the water of having something to say that had a bit of substance behind it was in 2015. I posted a video and I was like, just doing what I do, dancing in the gym. And then I snatched, I think it was 120, did dancing to this Beyonce song, and I snatched 120. Flippantly posted it, and then out of nowhere, it just blew up. I think I gained 30,000 followers overnight. Wow. I had celebrities all over the world reposting it, news outlets asking me, and they were it was the weirdest thing. And I just realized all of a sudden I had all these eyes on me, and that I could basically say something that I, with the platform and with the eyes on, I could use that to have some sort of positive impact. And I think this is, going back to talk about the impact our parents have on us. I think something that I'm so grateful for from my parents is just the value they placed on our ability to have a positive impact on others. And I think, I saw it as a beautiful opportunity to say something, and I was like, yeah, it's really cool that everyone thinks it's so awesome that I'm, dancing, but would people still be acting the same if it was someone, we're celebrating this, but why can't we champion someone for doing something like speaking about if they had a mental health issue? Or if I was a gay man doing that, or if I was a whatever, something back in those days, I don't think things are so different now. 2015 doesn't seem that long ago, but fuck man, it's almost 10 years ago. So much has changed in 10 years. But yeah, I kind of made a bit of a statement around, if I wasn't athletic, or if I was just, all these different things, how would that video have been taken and been received? And that but I definitely wasn't, I was in a fucking terrible place in 2015 mentally. And probably 2017, I think I was just, I don't even think I was saying it for any other reason that I was just at such a point of existential crisis in my own life that I was and felt this immense pressure to kind of continue to have this presence online. I was like, fuck me, if I'm going to continue to exist in this space, which is in some way, shape or form, forcing me to, or I felt like it was forcing me to be someone I wasn't. And I felt like it was forcing me to put this mask on and keep up this certain type of appearance. I was like, I can't keep doing that because it's only making things worse for me mentally. So if I'm going to continue to exist in this space, then I want to start to show up being exactly who I am and talking about exactly what's going on. And honestly, I think I remember the post that I did. It was at the start of the year, and I just sort of opened up about I've been struggling, and I'd been in and out of therapy at that point for a couple of years. I'd been diagnosed with, at that point in time, I was still being treated for bipolar disorder, which was a misdiagnosis. I was on and off these medications that would just one of the medications I would take, and I would almost not even be able to get out of bed some mornings. So I'd get out of bed and it would just hit me, and I'd take it. I remember being at the gym one day and I'd taken this thing. I think it was lamotrigine or a centipede, one of the two. I can't remember which it was. It was this wafer they put in your mouth and dissolved, and it literally tasted like you were chewing on Panadol or another thing that you would potentially chew on. It tastes really shitty.
Yeah.
So it tasted like that, and you'd feel fucked. And then like some days I'd be okay. And then I remember one day I was like, I could barely keep my eyes open in the gym. I lived maybe 5-minute drive from the gym. And I was like, fuck, I just got to get home. And so I jumped in the car, and like I was so fucked I couldn't even make the whole way home. I pulled over on the side of the road, just passed out for about 2.5 hours.
Oh, fuck.
Slept on the side of the road because it's this medication. And I was being treated for that. That medication was rocking me. I was still training as much as I could. Like my primary focus was still on that, obviously. And then, yeah, like I think I was just in a space where if I wasn't open about what I was going through, trying to keep up those appearances of like being this kind of athlete, living this kind of fun life, and always kind of being the life of the party, that kind of vibe, I think that would have just taken more of a toll. And then when I opened up and just sort of said, like, look, these are some things that I've been going through. And I think I used the bipolar. I think I used the being medicated and or like going to therapy and all that kind of stuff. You know, I'd had relationship breakdowns over those last couple of years and financial struggles as well. And then I kind of opened up. And when I did, it was just so incredible how many people, particularly blokes in that kind of fitness space, that then turned around and were just like, mate, thank you so much for telling your story, because now I don't feel more alone, or it helped me navigate that. And to this day, it's funny, like I kind of haven't spoken a heap about mental health recently. I'm like, yes and no. I dip the toe. It's funny because people's approach has changed. I think back then mental health wasn't spoken about. Nowadays, I think mental health's almost fucking over. You hear about it fucking all the time. It's almost like cool to talk about mental health now, which is like wild, because I think that's changed the nature of how it's received. And I think I think it's great to see it spoken about more. I think the way we speak about it needs work, because I think it creates this kind of, almost the way that the world is now is so divisive, and it creates almost like this hard division of people that are okay with people talking about mental health and people who think it's just a fucking cop out, it's bullshit, just toughen up. Those people have been given more of a platform as well, and I think that the conversations need to change, but they need to continue. Sorry, segue, good at those. But yeah, so I think when I sort of received so much, it wasn't even positive, like people being like, oh, you're amazing or anything like that. It was more so people just being like, holy fuck, thank you, because I can relate to that. Or like, holy shit, I feel less alone, or I feel less fucked up, or I feel this, I feel this, I feel this. And I was like, wow, like I have this incredible capacity just through my own stories to have a positive impact on these people that have gone through. And, you know, you spoke about yourself having gone through some mental health struggles. Like when you've gone through it, when you've sat there and you've been in that place, you know how real it is, and you know how isolating it can feel. You know how we're our own worst enemies in those places, because it's what we're thinking about ourselves that just exacerbates the problem. You're there feeling like shit. When you feel like shit, your capacity to kind of function as a normal human being is limited, and you're aware, you're so acutely aware that what you're doing isn't optimal. And so you just beat yourself up even more, and it just perpetuates that cycle. Or heaven forbid, you turn to the bottle or the bag and you kind of seek solace that way. And then you just kind of, then once again, you know, you wake up hungover on a fucking Thursday and you're like, I'm a piece of shit. What am I doing? And then that shame spiral just perpetuates the problem. And so like having people say that just listening to someone else's stories around that was helping them, like that had such a positive impact. Because I was like, fuck me, I've got plenty of these stories about me fucking up. And I certainly didn't just fix myself on a dime like that. It's been a fucking journey. It's been like the last 6 months for me has probably been the best 6 months of mental health management and like progress as a human being I've ever gone in that respect. And it's been going to therapy once a week, moved home, settled down. But yeah, speaking about that, opening up about that, I think it just really showed me the power of my platform and gave me a really cool opportunity to use that platform in a far better way than I was beforehand.
Yeah, fully. I can big time relate to that. Just holding on a facade, it's exhausting, bro. It's I'm by nature very much a people pleaser. It's very hard to say no to people, and then I will just keep adding shit to my plate until it gets to the point that I just can't do anything and stop functioning as a human. And I'm not just saying this because we're having this conversation, but I do want to thank you for speaking out on mental health, because it's a huge issue. I'm a big advocate, and I fucking appreciate what you did last year with Alice Cady, the Don't Wait doco. That was massive, because I obviously Matt had seen that side of you earlier, but I really hadn't. And it was really cool to just see you on a public platform saying what you wanted to say, being vulnerable and being relatable to people like me. I mean, shit, it happened last year. Oh, to take it back to something you said earlier, you used a line that I've used so much, and I think it's the perfect way to sum it up. Hard is relative. What's hard for me may not be hard for Matt, may not be hard for you, but for me, it's wearing me down and it's fucking me up. So things get to me, and like you say, on a social platform, people can look at what you're doing and say, oh, that you have no reason to be sad. Like, what are you crying about? And it happened last year, because we had a phenomenal year last year with the podcast, with the likes of Dean Flood getting us down. Just one event in particular, doing cluster threes down in Wellington. We were being flown around the country to go and do what we love, talk to amazing athletes. Fuck, we were playing pickleball with, Royce Dunn and Christy Hollard and Bryony. And then we were sharing an apartment with James Newbury. Like, life could not get better if you look at it from the outside. But we came home from that trip, and we talked about it on another one of our other podcasts, the Whiskey and Wads, which is where we just talk shit. We don't have a guest. But I feel comfortable enough to bring it up in front of Matt and to share it with people online that the week after that was shit. Like, we didn't talk. I didn't want to talk to anyone. I felt so low, and for no reason apparently. But yeah, it's just funny that people can be so ignorant and look at your life from a screen and think that they know you and think that there's can't be shit going on. But fuck, you just never know, man. So I really appreciate you having such a presence and being so outspoken in the mental health space, because it's huge for me, and I'm sure it's huge for so many other people. So thank you, bro.
Oh, no, my pleasure. No thanks needed. And thank you for sharing that story as well, man. Like, you said that you were sad for no reason. And I think, like, the way that we experience emotions, like whether it seems like there's a reason or not, I feel like even if the reason is that we've just experienced such a high, like we have to ebb and flow between different extremes. Like, after the high has to come the crash to an extent. And yeah, I think we're existing in a tricky time, like we kind of touched on before. It's very polarizing. When you try to have a conversation about anything, it is extremely polarizing. And you get these people that are just like I've sat with people that I love or that I respect tremendously and had them in conversation, not in an aggressive way or not in a kind of belittling way, basically say, anyone that's experiencing mental health issues, they're just not, they're not tough enough, or it's some sort of thing that's their fault, or it's something that, they've got to just do better and da. And so, like, one of my number one maxims as a human being, if I was going to pick rules to live by for myself, and I spend a lot of time thinking about this, so I love philosophy and all that kind of stuff. One of my number ones is to take as much personal responsibility as you can for anything in your life, especially the things you're unhappy about. Right. So if you're unhappy about something and you want to make changes, how much of that can you do yourself? How much personal responsibility for those changes can you take? And that includes things like mental health. But there is a certain extent to which, you know what, like, I know that if I'm drinking every weekend, my mental health's not going to be as good. So if I'm feeling a little bit like I've got the SADs midweek and I know that I've been partying each weekend, well, I'm not going to sit there and be like, it's my mental health, and be like, no, you fuckwit. Sorry, excuse my French. No, you idiot. The fact that you've been out on the piss every weekend for a hot period of time, maybe have a month off the piss, or, maybe try and get some more sleep, or whatever it is, or understand that other things are going to have to take a hit, be that your mental health or other things, to try and allow for that lifestyle. So you can make those changes to a certain extent. But there's also been periods in my life I've had everything dialed in. I've been training well. I've been injury-free. I've been off the piss. I've had quality relationships around me. And I've still fucking been waking up in the middle of the night having anxiety attacks. I've still not been able to focus throughout the day because my mind's fucking too fast all over the place. So as much as, like, the battle seems to be, with the rhetoric at the moment seems to be, if someone has mental health, if someone's complaining or speaking out about having a mental health issue, it's their own fault and they can fix it themselves. There's a degree to which I believe in that, but there's also a degree to which I think that, like, yeah, sometimes we just are sad for no reason. And making people feel like experiencing that is somehow bad, particularly like you said, if on the surface it looks like you've got this incredible life. And like I said, I had a great conversation with this dude. She was leaving a comment on fucking almost any post I would post that was like deep. He would leave these long fucking comments, and I was like, I just got fucking like, I was gonna message this dude because there was one where we went back and forth a little bit, and I was just like, sometimes I really struggle with like when someone's not being logically coherent, when someone's not making logical sense. I'm very kind of, I need to be able to understand, or it will drive me nuts. And I couldn't understand this guy's logic. I just couldn't quite grasp it. So I ended up deleting his comment. And then he messaged me and he's like, oh, why did you delete my comment? I feel like an idiot now. I was like, let's just have this conversation here. Like, what's your issue with me? Like, what is your issue with what I post? And then we went back and forth. And I kind of said, like, look, man, like, I'm not saying my life is bad. I'm not asking for pity. Well, I'm not asking anyone to kind of look, I'm not expecting anyone to look at me and go, that poor guy experiences mental health issues. What I'm trying to do is show people that I experienced those lows, but hey, I still fucking put my head down and go to work when I have to. I still get to enjoy these highs. Like, just because I experienced those lows doesn't mean that my life is shit. I actually have a fantastic life and I really love that. And it's more so like helping people see that you can have that polarity in life and it's okay. And, you know, we ended up having quite a productive conversation off the back of it. But yeah, I think we do exist in this weird time where, I said, back in like 2015, 16, 17, it wasn't as normal to talk about mental health. And now it's kind of almost like, fuck me, if you have a platform, you're expected to. And I think it to an extent, it's beautiful because it opens up more conversation, but it also dilutes the message. And it is, mental health's tricky. It's very tricky because it isn't something that you can just jab a needle, take some blood. Yeah, you got the SADS, you got depression. Oh, yep, you got anxiety. Like, for me to get diagnosed with ADHD was fucking, I mean, when I got misdiagnosed with bipolar, it was a 20-minute consultation at a fucking GP's.
Wow.
And this medication that's fucking savage that I should not have been given. Like, it should have been a far more thorough process. To get diagnosed with ADHD was different. That was like 3 consultations, a bunch of all different types of testing, interviewing, questionnaires. Like, that was a in-depth process, but it's still, you know, like these labels that we give mental health issues, like they're still chosen by a person rather than by a scientific test. So it is an interesting one.
No, 100%, man. All right, I know you're strapped for time, and
I'm just cruising.
Oh, sweet, we've got a few hours in. Lock you in.
Sorry, did you want to carry on from that?
I was actually going to divert off to a bit of CrossFit chat. But I'm sure we'll circle back to the stuff as well, because I got some stories with some of the coaching I do down at the gym. But I thought I'll dive into a bit of CrossFit.
Let's go.
Because this whole chat started with you before CrossFit, what you were into and that kind of stuff. We were going to lead into. So I've got 2013 on your games profile that you started. Is that the year you started getting into CrossFit?
I started sort of mid to late 2012. Actually, so I came across CrossFit in like 2011. I wanted to be really like, I love the idea of being athletic, ripped, like lean. I didn't want to be like a bodybuilder. I kind of missed that memo as a guy. Like, that's why my bench is still so shit. But I just wanted to, like, I love being fit. I love playing sport, athletic, all that kind of stuff. And I stumbled across CrossFit. I did a couple of little workouts here or there at like a Globo gym. I think the first workout I ever did was Fran, and then I did like Murph, and then went back to this kind of weird hybrid style training. And then I think like I found out about the sport of it kind of coming into 2012. And it was the start of 2012 was my very first actual CrossFit experience. Right. It was a competition. So I was going overseas on a holiday, and I'd kind of been looking into it, and I was like, it's mad that there's these competitions that's just for fitness. And I was like, I'm pretty fit. I feel like I could go and do one. Well, I thought I was pretty fit. I was like, I could go and do one of these competitions. And I found out there was one right near my house, and I called them up. I think the day before the event was like a 1-day competition. I just kind of asked, I was like, hey guys, like, I've never done CrossFit before, but I'd love to compete. Do you have any spots available? And I sort of wanted to do the intermediate competition. And it's one of those things where it's like when you reflect on your life and you look at little things that happen and you wonder like how big, like the butterfly effect from these small things. So I asked them if I could do a spot in intermediate. They said that intermediate was sold out, but they only had advanced spots left, which was like RX or whatever you would call it, elite these days. I was like, oh, I've never done CrossFit really before, so I don't think that would be suitable. And the person was just like, well, can you deadlift whatever 140 kilos? I was like, I can do that. Like, can you front squat 60 kilos? I was like, I can do that. Like, can you do a double under? I couldn't really do those, but I was like, I can fucking try. Like, that's not going to hurt me if I can't do that actually. And then there was just a bunch of other things. Can you do a pull up? Yeah. I don't really know how to do a kipping pull up. I was like, oh, do you have to know how to do the butterfly ones? And they're like, no, we don't have like anything like that. And yeah, that was that. And so I was like, fuck it. Yeah, I'll do the advance. And like having no concept of like what CrossFit was, except for having done like Fran and Murph, say, at a Globo gym a couple of times and knowing reasonable scores for that and being like, well, I think I'll be okay. So I rocked up to this comp and ended up, I think I was sitting in second right up until there was one event that had double unders in it and I couldn't do the double unders. I just kept fucking them up and that dropped me out to fourth. But it was it was a big event. And I remember sort of following then this, like the season off the back of that and seeing these guys that I'd done the competition with. And a few of them were like regionals, kind of top 10 regional level guys. And I was like right in the mix with them, basically having just gone to a CrossFit gym. And I think that in my head, I was like, fuck, I want to try this. Like, I want to actually go to a CrossFit gym. I couldn't afford to back then. And then I got my first job as a journalist, actually. So I'd done journalism at university. It was in my final year of uni, got my first full-time job as a journo. And that gave me enough money to be able to go to a CrossFit gym. And then, yeah, just happened to stroll on into a CrossFit gym that was owned by Chad McKay's partner. And so Chad McKay was number one in Oz at the moment. And so one of those just serendipitous things where I walked into a CrossFit gym and I was like, hi, I was that guy. I was that guy that walked into a CrossFit gym and was like, hey, I want to go to the CrossFit Games. And like you've been around gyms long enough. Like, I owned a gym for a period of time. You get those people that would come in and you'd be like, fuck, how do I break the news to them? And then so Cass, who owned the gym, she was just like, oh, my partner, he competes at the CrossFit Games. He's the best in Australia. And then, yeah, like I got to train with Chad pretty early on. And yeah, he said, look, I would consider, trying for regionals and everything like that. And then, yeah, 2013, so like 6-7 months later, I qualified for the regionals in 2013. And I think I finished 10th. And then I was just like, fuck. Like, I remember being out on the regionals floor. I couldn't even do muscle ups without a false grip. Like, I couldn't do a normal kipping muscle up. I'd never learned how to do like a jerk correctly. Like, I kind of just did this weird hybrid push pressing type thing and never learned how to climb a rope. And there was rope climbs in the final. And I remember I was just doing this weird, like legless kind of like squeezing my knees on the rope together and just kind of like got through basically by like raw capacity. And going, I wonder how much better I could get. Got a coach, trained really hard for a year. And then, yeah, 2014 was the first year I qualified for the games. So, yeah, like that's kind of then, yeah, just sort of snowballed from there, I suppose, and put some of the skills to work that I had in terms of building a social media presence and all that kind of stuff. And then that very much allowed me to professionalize the sport, I guess. Maybe like 2016, 17, I would say I started to compete professionally, let's call it, or make an income off my social media that I could primarily just train. That would be probably like, 16, 17 that really kind of started to take place. And then, yeah, the rest is history, boys.
Oh, good. On your regionals, because you cleaned up at regionals most years, you got like 4 podium finishes, pretty sure at regionals. But you could never cross over to the games. What do you reckon the holdback there was? Because you were, man, every regionals I watched with you in it, it was like, yeah, like Khan's about to go over there and tear shit up. And then, you're finishing in the 20s. Is like, was there just such a skill difference there, or was it just the prep wasn't on? What do you reckon was that?
Having experienced what I did when I went to Iceland in 2022, this is let's figure out how to word this. I worked my fucking ass off when I trained. Outside of that, I was a piece of shit. I did not take it seriously.
Right.
26, I had a big weekend in New York the weekend before I competed. Like, didn't sleep, partied. Like, I think the stress and pressure of that I put on myself trying to be an athlete yeah, I could bury myself in the gym and I could push myself harder than, like most people. But I didn't eat well. I didn't eat properly. I wasn't fueling properly. I wasn't recovering. I wasn't sleeping. I was sinking piss. I was partying. Like, I just didn't take it seriously in that respect. And that allowed me to perform at regionals, because regionals was 2 workouts a day for 3 days, which, I think 2014, when I made the games for the first time, I'd been out on like I call it a bender. I don't really, yeah, like the Wednesday night. Like I was dating this girl at the time. She was like an influencer before that was really even a thing. And we had tickets to go and see The Lion King. And we got absolutely just like wrecked, went to The Lion King, went back, like stayed up, partied that night. And then I remember driving to regionals that Thursday, this 2014, just being like, what the fuck's wrong with you? Like, why did you do that? Like, absolutely fucking struggle now. And then I made the games for the first time and I was like, fuck, this is great. I can do this. Like, that's how I can live my life. Yep. 2017, I didn't make the games for the first time in 3 years. And I remember just being like, well, okay, if I just fix some shit, like make some small changes, I'll make it back. And I did. So 2017, made those small changes, made it back to the games, had a pretty good year. And then after the games that year, this was like back to the old habits. And I guess, those, partying, drinking, all that kind of stuff, when I was single, chasing skirt, all that kind of stuff, like that was very, what I now recognize and understand was maladaptive coping mechanisms for other things going on in my life, for things, mental health issues, for that stuff. And they were these maladaptive coping mechanisms that I had that significantly impacted my capacity to perform as an athlete. When I went to Iceland and I trained with those guys and I spent a year in a training camp, like the number one thing I kept thinking was, Jesus Christ, if I had done this in like 2015, 2016, holy shit. It's so easy to hypothesize, but I believe if I had done that earlier, I would have been a perennial top 10 games individual, because it was just the difference in my, just not even just like how I performed, but how I looked from the start of getting to Iceland to when I competed at the games with them in 2022 on a team. Like I looked completely different to how I've ever looked before when I've competed. I just felt completely different. There was, and I'm hoping to get back to that. Unfortunately, the plan was basically to do that, finish the season 2022, then basically go back there for another year and do an individual season last year. Unfortunately, well, life happened first. I went through a heap of shit in my personal life, and then got injured my back, injured my elbow. And so I had to take last year off. So, I'd love to hope that I can get back to where I was. But I think the reason, I never really felt like I reached my potential as an individual at the games back then, was purely because I thought that training was just enough. I thought training my ass off was enough. And what I learned is it absolutely is not.
Yeah. We were at the Pro last year, and I remember one of the, what do you call them, commentators, coming and having a chat with you about your back injury. What did actually happen to your back?
Fuck me. I've had back issues for a long time. My back, since I was a kid, since my footy days. So I went and competed in Dubai. And actually, that was the first time I kind of hurt my elbow. So first time I've ever done Dubai, powered my clean with the hang clean event. Just as I stood it up, my elbow just kind of twisted and I felt like a bit of pain. Had to withdraw from Dubai with the elbow issue. But I felt good. Like I got like a little bit of done 2 days of competing, had been sitting top 3. I was like, right, fuck yeah. Like I'm on the right track with my training for the 2023 season. I got enough data from that. So Yami and I made the decision to withdraw. Then I went to America, like I mentioned, had a bit going on in my personal life. And I spent like 6 weeks over in the US, just kind of in a very, let's call it dysfunctional situationship. And with that, like my training was so haphazard, and I was driving, like spending a lot of time just like not doing much, trying to keep up my training as much as possible, but with very little thought to kind of warm up, recovery and all that kind of stuff. And I'd been training like a bit. And then honestly, I was just laying on my side, watching someone do handstand walks and giving them like advice. And then I stood up and I was like, felt something go. And kind of just, that was that. Like my back just, so it's issues. I've got disc issues and then issues with the SIJ. And funnily enough, like it's blown when I've been doing deadlifts, squats, re-racking a jerk, and then it's blown when I've sneezed getting out of a car, this was just, and it was, there's been once before in my career in 2019 that anything like this happened. And basically it's as if like from my waist down, essentially, I lose all strength and power. I can't, like, it's so debilitating for a short period of time. So I rehabbed it as much as I could. I was sort of 2 weeks out from Wodapalooza, did 1 day of Wodapalooza, and it just went back to being shitty again. And then just couldn't seem to get on top of it. Again, I was also going through a bunch of shit personally. So like I went to Bali to try and just like train, but be in a fresh space. I didn't want to go back to Oz. I was just like, I just need to kind of just focus on that, like focus on myself and all this kind of shit that was going on. And then, yeah, I just basically chased my tail for up until the season started, limped through the first 2 workouts of the Open. Third workout I couldn't complete. I couldn't snatch the 185-pound bar. Couldn't finish that round of the snatches and the handstand push-ups. And then quarterfinals came. I could barely fucking dumbbell snatch that 70-pounder. Yeah. Like it's crazy because it felt like it wasn't even just that it hurt. I just didn't have the power. Like I was like full getting on. I think I started split snatching it towards the end just to try and get under this 70-pound dumbbell. Yeah. And then what was the clean workout with 125? I basically tried to do that. I couldn't do it. And then I just had a bunch of Voltaren, finished the workout, and then was just like, I mean, I couldn't do a GHD. I think I put a video up where I tried to do a GHD, and basically when I got to parallel, it would just give and I would just fall back down. I'd be stuck back down the bottom there. Yeah. My back was gone. First season in 11 years I missed. With that though, like decided to go back over to Iceland because I just thought it's just better for me to be there. Like I just know that I train better. I like Yami, my coach, and I have become quite close, and even just the Icelandic crew, like they've become some of my very good friends. And I was excited to get back over and spend some time with them, excited to go and spend some time with Yami, work with them, and hopefully kind of start to rehab my back. And we did, and we were rehabbing it. And what we were doing was also hammering my gymnastics. And hammering that gymnastics, my elbow started to flare up again. And I just kind of thought it was a little bit of tennis elbow, like tendonitis. And then it was like the last week that I was over there, some of Yami's other athletes from Finland, like Henrik Haapalainen, Jonna and another guy came over. Oh no, Jonna didn't come. It was Henrik and another guy, Lars, that came over. So they came over to do a training camp, and BK was there as well. And then there was a couple of workouts that we did that were very upper body heavy. But because I'd been doing so much gymnastics, we thought it'd be a good opportunity for me to kind of push the boys with those workouts. And my elbow was sore, but I was kind of like, fuck. I knew that I was flying home to go to Torrey, and I wasn't going to be training much then. I knew that then I was going to be going to the UK or the European semi-final. Then I was going to go on a bit of a holiday after that, just go and enjoy myself for a bit of time, go to London, get my back looked at by our physio over there, and just kind of cruise up until the games. I kind of decided that this was my season off, and that I had not really been treating it like time off. I hadn't had this period over like European American summer off ever since, for a lot of years, because I've been competing the games or whatever. It's like, fuck it, I'm going to go and enjoy myself. I'm in this cool situation where I can get paid essentially to just be myself and just do my thing. So why not go and enjoy like a European summer? So that was the plan, like go and do that. And I did, I had a great time, but so I pushed that last week of training, did these workouts, and then expected to kind of like take a couple of days off. And you know what tendonitis is like, you take a few days off and all of a sudden it feels a bit better. And my elbow just consistently didn't get better. And so ended up being that my back was kind of linearly improving. But 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. It's never linear injuries, but my elbow, it just wasn't changing. And so very shortly after that though, I through the wildest of stories, found out that there was a good chance I'd get to be a gladiator. And I was like, fuck. And I kind of like, whilst they couldn't guarantee it, they were very, very kind of like, look, you'll probably be one. And so off the back of that, I was like, man, I got to get my elbow healthy. Like I've got to get my elbow healthy. So I fucking just rehabbed it and was taking time off and was very, very, very gently loading it. And then got to basically came back to Oz, did Gladiator, and sort of 3 episodes from finishing, they brought this new game in, and it was basically a handle with a tiny little bit of rope, like a mini tug of war, let's call it. And so you're the gladiator, you're holding it, and the contender's holding the other handle, and you're in this big circle, or you're in this little circle, and it's called whiplash. The contender's job to pull you out of that circle. So they're fucking sprinting that way. It's about as much fucking force as you could put through your elbow joint, to be honest. Horrible. I don't know if that won't come back. So we were practicing it. So we would get to try the games a day before. And so I was practicing whiplash with my right arm, which was my arm that had the injury. I'd had cortisone before, and up until that point, it had been pretty good. Like it had been sore, but it hadn't been bad. And then, we were practicing that. It was like 30 seconds. You had to resist them. I think I was about 20 seconds in, and then it was just this searing pain. And I was like, dropped the wishbone, which is what they call the handles. And I was like, that's no good. And they were like, fuck. And I was like, I don't think I can do that game with my right arm. And so then I practiced it with my left arm against the practice person, and they went left-handed too. And I was like, I could do it with my left hand, because that was the game that they'd wanted me to do. And then the next day went in, just got paired up with, arguably the strongest contestant. I was like, can we go left-handed? And he thought I was like trying to fuck him over. He thought I must have been left-handed. He's like, no. And I was like, fuck. So it's like me versus him, my left hand versus his right hand. And he just fucking spanked me. So if you can imagine, I'm standing here. So he's now standing on this outside of me, holding it with his right hand, because his right hand was here. And so he just took it and he just ran like to that outside shoulder. And my arm just got pulled around, and I just got dragged out of the circle of my ass, I'm pretty sure, straight away. So that was fun, nice and humbling. But and it was then off the back of that, like finished filming, like filming was intense, finished filming, went to the doctors and just kind of got a scan done on the elbow for the first time. And he was like, it's a pretty substantial tear to your on a flexor tendon. Right. So substantial, but not substantial enough. Apparently more than 80% of the tendon needs to be torn for them to operate. He said there was about 55, 60% of the tendon torn for me, which is just, instead, that's just 6 months of rehab. And so I've been linked up with a guy, Buzz, Pro Form Physio, and we've just been rehabbing for 4.5 months now. Slowly, steadily getting back to everything. It still fucking hurts every day. I'm basically have come to the conclusion that I'm going to do this season with a very sore elbow a lot of the time, but like it is recovering. I'm doing everything except legless rope climbs again now in very, very, very moderated volume. But that was kind of the injury. Fucking full year, mate. There was a period where, like, I've competed for 11 years. For 11 years, my life has revolved around trying to be one of the best CrossFitters in the world. And and I've loved that. Like, not competing isn't just about testing myself physically. Like, you boys have probably seen me compete. I'm in my element out there. When I'm on the competition floor, it's the happiest place. It's my happy place. I'm the happiest man on earth when I'm on that competition floor. The crowd, the vibe, like, I don't care if I'm winning, mid-pack, whatever it is. When I'm out there, I'm living my best life. That's my favorite thing in the world. Having that taken away from me was shit. Like, it was really shitty. But you know what? I was like, this is cool. Like, I'm still getting to kind of travel, be involved, do some cool shit. Like, I enjoyed it. When my elbow and my back were both bad, and I was literally, like, I could bike and I could assault bike. That was pretty, and even assault biking kind of hurt the elbow sometimes. That was all I could do pain-free for a good period of time. And like very, very, very basic, light core Pilates shit. It was so crazy how that changed my perspective on just like having a working body. Like, the joy I feel these days. I had to go to the gym today and do a 40-minute EMOM with a bunch of CrossFit shit. I am so fucking excited for that, because it was like fitness has been this fucking pillar in my life since I was in my teens. My body, being able to push my body in different ways, challenge my body, use my body in ways that I like, I want to be able to use my body at will. Like, to have that taken away, like, fuck, it was crazy. Like, it was such an eye-opening experience for just how much I will never undervalue having a working body again. Like if that means I've got to warm up for 40 minutes, which kind of does at the moment, I'll warm up for 40 minutes. Give a fuck. Like my body, having a working body is just such a privilege. And yeah, it's such a that was a cool part of that experience, or silver lining.
Yeah, I know that resonates with Beef quite a lot right now. He's just
Settle.
torn. He's just torn his meniscus. How many months ago?
Oh, yeah, in the moon. I was over in New Zealand, right?
He was.
Yeah. That was October.
But like he came down to my gym the other day. He actually lives a couple of hours away from me, so like we just link up for this. But he came to my gym the other day, and you could see, yeah, he's on the bike erg. He's doing some bench, but he's just wants to be back out there, man.
Yeah, it's fucking annoying, and especially when it's been such a big part of your life for a long period of time.
Yeah. No matter what level either. If you just do your hour a day, so you get to shoot the shit with your mates and get an intense workout in, or whether you're going to the games, if it gets taken away from you, yeah, it's pretty shit, man.
Yeah. I am relatively new to the swole. What, 3 years?
3 years.
Yeah. So relatively fresh, but I do actually want to give you props. I put it down to you were probably the reason I started to take it seriously. I'd done CrossFit in college just for fitness, for basketball and that. But it was me and this guy, we came over for the 21 Torian Pro. And just to support one of his athletes. And I was like, come along, doing a bit of media. But I had seen you on the CrossFit Games docos, and obviously there's heaps of people to idolize and look up to there. But you being Australian, so close to home, it was like, that's, he's fucking cool. But seeing you in person at the Pro was just, I don't know if it just hit different. I just was like, this is fucking cool, man. Like, I want to be in this realm, like, a lot. So, I think I put it down to you being a big reason why I started to take this seriously. But that Pro was standout for me, I think.
Pro was...
Yeah. One of the workouts I remember is we snuck into the lower seating before the Pro started segregating all the seating. And we snuck in down the bottom, and in front of us was Maddie Saunders, and but behind us, and we hadn't realized until you came, that was the clean and jerk ladder. And you're making your way down, you started getting to the heavier weights, and you started getting right in front of us. Next thing you know, and he went off, because I didn't know who these people were at the time, but he went crazy. All we hear is, let's fucking go, Khan, get under the bar. We turn around, it was Harriet Roberts and Sonny Webster right behind us going off. And he's like, bro, that's Sonny Webster. Holy shit. And I'm like, who?
Sonny, I'm very lucky to have a really good relationship with Sonny. He's a fucking good fella. We train at the same gym now, which is a lot of fun. But yeah, he was great. Like it was one of those things that I'd done so much work on my Olympic weightlifting. I was so out of shape at the 2021 Torian Pro. Really? I think at 2022, I think I did before and after style post of like just what I like, my body composition, for example. Like I did like a post for me about to go and compete at the 2022 semifinals versus the 2021. Yeah, 2020 I just didn't train, man. Like I think I just bike erged, and then I did the 2020 games, which was the online games. And I did so badly at the 1 rep max front squat. I was like, what the fuck am I doing? Like I'm one of the bigger athletes like I'm 6 foot 94 kilos back then, maybe 92 kilos, 92 to 94. And I was like, man, I'm one of the bigger boys. I should be one of the better lifters, and I'm fucking weak as piss. So that's when I linked with Sonny, and I was like, bro, I just need to get stronger. And so I did like this hard out strength program. I was just like most of 2020, I didn't train. So this is the back end of 2020. And I was like, I'm just going to dirty bulk and get strong. And I fucking dirty bulked up to like 98 kilos. And honestly, like I got stronger. I don't know. I put like 3 kilos on my snatch, 6-7 kilos on my clean. My jerk went up massively. Like I put a good 10 kilos on my jerk. And then, but like the only thing I wanted to fucking back squat 200 kilos. I never back squat 200 kilos. I'm a fucking useless back squatter. I got there, but it cost me like every other aspect of my fitness. I was out of shape. I was not cardio fit. Like I still had good power output. Like I could still just kind of push sort of that 3 to 6, 7 minute mark. But anything over that, I was fucking useless. My gymnastics went to shit because I was just so much heavier. And then that was what I felt more than anything at that semifinals. I wasn't working with a coach either. I was just doing my own shit. So I was kind of just cherry picking. And then I finished 2021. I was just like, right, you got to fucking lose some weight and get your gymnastics back. And then that is what I did. And it, like, even by the last chance qualifier was maybe a month later. So I had a solid month of just dropping weight and getting fitter and better at gymnastics. And then I ended up, I was winning the last chance qualifier until the last workout. I just kind of got pipped and dropped out of qualifying in that. So yeah, I definitely wasn't my very best self at the Torian Pro 2021. However, I did know that I was going to rock that fucking ladder because we had been working on strength, and I was like, fuck, like I could finish. I think I finished it in practice. Like I got to that 160 and I nailed it. I didn't get it on the day, but fuck, like it was still good fun.
Yeah. Oh, it was cool, man. He's just yelling behind us. He's like giving you heaps of pointers. You couldn't hear a word he was saying. It was way too loud.
No.
Yeah.
That was a gun year with the fucking flamethrowers, and it was hectic.
Oh,
You know another event from that same year, actually, I remember you going full send. I think it was ski. I'm bringing it up, bro. It was the full send on the ski and the box jumps, and then you've got the sled pull. What was the mindset going into that one?
I practiced that workout, one round of that workout, because that's all it took me. I practiced that workout every fucking way imaginable, and I finished it in one round every single fucking time. I did it with a long rope. I did it with a short rope. I did it. Torian had that set up in their gym, and I was like, fuck, I'm just going to quickly do, because it was like, I can quickly do a round of this workout and I should finish it. And then I just, like, the sled just didn't pull like any of the sleds that I'd pulled in the gym. And so I was just like, fuck it, I can get it done. And I couldn't. I fucking just failed spectacularly. I was so sure that I could get it done in one round. Like, I was just so fucking sure. Like, ski comparatively is my best of the ergs. Burpees, I'm always loved burpees. I was just like that, like I said, I still had that really good kind of like 3 to 5 minute capacity. I was fucked. That was so hard. Oh my God. That second round when I didn't get it done, I was like, fuck my life. I am going to fucking die on this next round. I got it done in the second, but I still maintain that there was something to do with that floor being fucked. Because some of those lanes in the middle, that fucking sled flew. And I watched those. So I beat, Rob Watt? So Rob Watt's a good mate of mine, and he's good at that kind of stuff too. And he was in the lane that I was going to, and he goes, bro, the lane's fucked. And I was like, what do you mean? He goes, the sled just doesn't pull. He goes, I was giving it everything and it wasn't moving. And I remember just being like, do I listen to and try and do it in 2 instead? But he didn't. He'd done it in 3. Like, everyone else in that lane had taken them 3 sets minimum. Some of them didn't even finish it. So I was like, nah, fuck that. Like, I finish it in 1. I'll get it done. Like, I appreciate him saying that, but I love you, Rob Watt, but also fuck you, Rob Watt. Watch this. And oh God damn it. Fuck, honestly, boys. That second one still gives me the fucking heebie-jeebies, just how cooked I was going back. I was like, oh boy, like, you might not finish the ski.
Well, you could see it from the stands too, man. It was like just watching you walk back to the ski and defeat, like, oh no, there's a problem here.
I think I'd figured out at that point that I was most likely, almost certainly not going to go to the games, but that I was almost certainly going to get a last chance qualifier spot. And so I was kind of like, I felt like I could roll the dice as well. And yeah, I did. Sometimes that works. Sometimes it does not. That it did not.
I think you're right about the lane, because even Luc de Jong, he ended up changing shoes with James Newbury because he couldn't get any traction. The sled wouldn't move.
It's crazy. There was a few of the outer lanes a bit like that. You never know. The talk tank's great. I think at this point in the sport, and I mean, this is things that like the PFAA can talk about, and hopefully sleds on surfaces, it just has to go, because it just cannot be guaranteed to perform. Every year that there's been a sled event at the games, there's been some controversy. Like, every single fucking year. There was the year that, like, was it Neil Maddox won it, and his thing was in this one lane that just flew, and there were other boys that were like one rep pressing this like a 40 kilo sled, having to like press to get it through certain patches of grass. Like there's been so much controversy around sled events that I just think that that's one of those things that these days they just got to get rid of. If you want to have us push an object, those torque tanks and stuff like that are great because they are fairly universally like it's on wheels. Like you're not getting the friction differences.
I have an issue with the torque tank, mainly because I just want to get rid of that. I'm no expert, but it just seems like every event I've seen with a torque tank, whenever you get there, there's no overtaking on it or losing. It just seems like you get that done, and then on the next movement, there's your jostling. So it's like the harder you push on a torque tank, the more resistance it has. So there's no real like...
I didn't realize that.
To a degree. You can definitely make moves there, don't get me wrong, but in my opinion, like a dumbbell lunge would be better because you could actually use that to your advantage. You've got longer limbs, you can make more ground. Then you could be like, oh fuck, okay, I'll pace these chest to bars, I'll get to those lunges, and I'll make a place. Whereas you get to the torque tank, you're like almost waiting for the next movement because you're just so stagnant through that. That's my humble opinion. I'm no hella fit.
The amount of energy expended could play a role there. It's like, okay, yeah, you're not going to make a move on the torque tank. Like no one's going to really change positions there. However, I mean, you could also argue that in like certain workouts where you have an erg or a machine, unless you're really bad at those things, like most people mid-workout, if you're doing rounds of like rowing, most people are going to row at that kind of like 13 to 15. So you might have 4 or 5 seconds of deviance there. Maybe if you are rowing there, like there's not a lot of moves made like on a workout with rounds on an erg. Like there's seldom is there moves made on the erg. It's kind of like who's going to be less fatigued after the erg going to the next movement. So you could probably make that same argument for a torque tank if that's the case. It's like, okay, cool, maybe no one's going to take over someone on the torque tank, but who's going to be less fatigued getting off it to then go and do the next thing, which could that could potentially be an argument for it if they do move. But then I don't understand if you push harder, the resistance gets harder. That seems bad.
Yeah, because I'm giving up on this. I watched this thing on Hiller and I was like, it made sense, but I shouldn't back my. Yeah, okay, let's go away from this.
Another standout event I just wanted to talk to you, and I hope I've got this right, but you were one of the only, potentially will only ever be one of the only people to run the Burj Khalifa. Am I correct?
It was hectic. It was mad.
Bro, what are you saying to yourself? Fucking 50, 60 floors in, complete silence, just you.
Oh, you're a useless piece of shit. You can do all these other... probably catching you. You're going to come last because Fikowski was asking, like, Brent Fikowski is going to come storming past you at any point in time now. And then none of that happened. I did really well. I took third in that event. But like, and also like just classic first time competing as an indie since 2021, since that 2021 regionals is my first indie comp. And I just remember I just like doing this for fucking 11, 12 years and still make dumb mistakes. I just did my weight vest way too tight and then took off like a bat out of hell. And I think it was 161 flights. And so like 161 stories, sorry, not flights. Fuck me, I don't know how many flights it was, but 161 stories. And I reckon I was like 110 stories in when I was like, wait, I'm basically fast walking. I don't need the weight vest really tied up. So like I just undid the weight vest a little bit and had it like loosely on me. And I was like, holy fuck, I can breathe. And honestly, from time, the workout was all my internal chatter was just like, why are you so dumb? What the fuck's wrong with you? Why the fuck did you tie your weight vest so fucking tight for those first? That was most of my internal chatter from that point to the finish line. And I kept thinking, kept trying to tell myself, right, don't look. I kept saying like, don't look at the signs. Like I'll just keep my head down because I didn't want to look at the floors and just see them going one by one. Because you'd go maybe like 3 flights of stairs per floor. And I was like, don't look at the floors because you don't want to see how fucking slow this is going. I had a watch on and the only kind of measure that we had was they'd told us the day before that the Prince did the workout in like 36 minutes, but none of us would beat him because he was a gun. And so I was like, I kept thinking in my head, I'm making crazy time. I might finish this in 30 minutes if I keep this pace type thing. And I was just like, that can't be right. Like, there's got to be a twist or something that comes in. Anyway, it turns out that we all had substantially quicker times than that. But I was like, yeah, I remember just like looking at my watch and just being like, right, okay, well, it's 10, like, and then just doing little things like you've got like 10 more minutes, 15 minutes of hard breathing. You're fine. You can do 15 minutes. Just play little mind games like that. And then how they did it was, I'm fucking useless at online qualifiers. I've never been a good online qualifier. I think I'm so much better in person. And so I just scraped through. I think I was like Moritz Fiebig, who ended up coming second at the semifinals, who's great. He finished last. I was second last. Brent Fikowski was third last. So, and then we were the first three to go. Oh, then I think they called back one other dude afterwards. So I think I was the third person sent up into the tower. So for a good hot, and we were 2 minutes staggered. So for a hot minute, like you couldn't really hear very much. And then by like closer to the top, you could hear all the like people are all fucked up down the bottom. And like I just kept hearing that noise and being like, oh shit, like I'm gonna get overtaken. Like this is people are catching you, you're about to get fucking dusted. Fuck this, da 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 da. Anyway, then I got to the top. Yeah, I just remember finishing and like I mean, there'd only been 2 times that had come before, but I think I was about 4 minutes quicker than both of them. And then I remember just like Brian Friend coming over to me like, dude, that'll be a crazy good time. And I was like, cool, let's just see how it goes. And I'll just like wait for the next person to get up. What'd you get? I'd beat their time. I was like, yes. And just sat there. It was cool, man. Like that comp was weird. Dubai was an interesting event that year particularly. But yeah, pretty sick experience.
Yeah, I know. I did have one question. I want to take it back to Gladiator, and I do have a bit of a roundabout reason as to why I have this question. You kind of touched on it. You said it wasn't set in stone that you were going to get it, but it kind of was set in stone. It's the same production company or whatever, but it's tied together with the English one. Is that right? The UK Gladiator?
The English one.
What was that, sorry?
Oh, so the only similarity is the name of the show. So it's licensed by the same people in the States. Like American Gladiators was the original. And so they licensed it in the UK. They licensed it in Oz, but it has nothing to do with the UK one.
Okay. All right. Well, okay. Maybe that might have fucked my question up. But, and so Zach George, another amazing CrossFitter, he was on Gladiator. He pulled out of his team going to regional semifinals. Showing my age there. So, yeah, how in the air was it? Because he obviously couldn't tell anyone. So how in the air was it you getting the spot? Because he got a lot of shit for that. He said, "Oh, you cost your team, a spot at the games."
This way, if I was in his, I don't know. I can't speak to the rules and regulations for them. I can only say that absolutely in my situation, I would have been able to just be like, hey guys, I'm in the running. The thing was though, what was like, I would have just been like, hey, I'm in the running. We need to get a reserve stat because if I get it, I'm going to do it. But like it was a very long waiting period from being told you'll probably be a gladiator to knowing 100% I was a gladiator. And I'm talking like it was maybe 2 weeks out from everything starting that I got the full blown, you're 100% in. Sure. And that's TV. TV is one of those things where you like, they want as many, this isn't Gladiator. This is like last year, because I wasn't competing, I feel like I got poached for a lot of TV stuff, a lot of like reality TV, and kind of like did the like, I ended up just being like, well, I'll explore it. And then if they offer it to me, I can always say no. So I ended up saying no to a few things and like just kind of going through that process. And what I found out was they want as many options as possible right up until the very last minute because shit happens. Because people like me, they think they've got on the show. And then I'm like, fuck no, I'm not doing it. I'm doing something else or like whatever it is. People change their mind. So they want to basically string people along as long as possible before telling them a hard yes or no. Right? Just so they have, this is my understanding, just so they have those options because welcome to showbiz, baby. That's just what they do. People are commodity. And so I think that was probably, I mean, you'd have to ask him. For me, I would have definitely had enough time and leeway to tell my teammates if I was in that situation, like I can do, I'm potentially going to be doing this. So we need to get someone on standby just in case. But I don't know what the rules were there. It's completely different.
I just switched cards while you were mid-convo before, and I reckon this one's going to run out too. But, so this CrossFit season, I wanted to talk about it. You put a post up, you and James Newbury in your La Boys swimwear, as you should be. Is that set in stone? Are we going to see the Aussie super team?
You will see James and I on a team this year.
Fuck yeah.
Hopefully on the podium at the games.
Good.
That's the plan.
Do we have an announcement on the other half of your team?
When's this going live?
Next week.
Fuck yeah. It's myself, Newbury, because we're going to announce today or tomorrow. Myself, James Newbury, Cara Saunders, and M. DeRoy.
Oh, fuck off. Yes, boy.
That's it.
Oh.
An all Aussie adventure. We're really excited about that. Hope the goal is to try and be the first all Aussie team to podium at the games.
Mate, how good. Because on the back of what happened last year with Brandon Swan getting injured, it is this side of the world's turn.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they're going to have a great team as well this year, but Marnie, phenomenal athlete, but she's Kiwi. We're the only full Aussie, I believe. Well, all 4 athletes are Australian.
Her being Kiwi is probably the strongest part of that team.
I don't. She's fucking gun. They're a very good team as well, man. I hope one of us at least gets on the podium. It'd be gun to see an oceanic team get on the podium for sure.
Yeah, hard out. We might have stumbled on a bit of extra inside scoop there. I don't know. Is that confirmed? Is it Royce, Marnie, Christy? And I've seen Jack Jeffries training with them a lot.
If so. I don't know definitely either way or whatever is going on, but I would just assume, considering that they're posting openly workouts of them worm shit and talking about team, that would be their team.
Yeah, that's true. That's another gun team. That's unreal.
That's exciting.
Some of the teams, this team is gonna be fucking hectic. Noah's got a team, Chandler's got a team. There's some fucking good teams, boys.
Yeah,
teams is fun.
Yeah, is Tola going back on a team?
Tola's on Noah's team.
Oh right, I thought Chandler was on that team.
Chandler's got his own team. As far as I know.
Holy shit. You guys, and I think you guys have shaked that up, and I remember you talked about it with Peter on Coffee Pods and Mods, but what you did with Reykjavik, forming the super team, the big narrative, taking on Mayhem, now Mayhem's somewhat out of the picture. Teams is going to be very exciting now.
There's going to be, and that's 4 good teams that I know of another 3 or 4 really good stacked teams. It's going to be the top 10. I feel this year at the games teams is going to be mental.
Oh, fuck it. My team, we might make it to quarterfinals. That'll be so good.
You're good, man. Hey, hard's relative.
Yeah.
Quarterfinals challenging sometimes.
Nah, man, that's going to be sick. I'm so excited for this season.
So how long's that been on the cards with you, Noobs, DeRoy and Saunders?
When Noobs and I said to each other we wanted to go team, we're like, who the fuck do we get girls? And we had a few girls in mind. And then basically Noobs and I just put up a post. There was a lot of soft yeses, a lot of yeah, we're pretty sure we're keen. And then Noobs and I put up the post. And then Cara and Maddie, her partner, reached out to James, and basically they had a conversation. James was like, Cara's keen. I was like, fuck, hard to turn down one of the greatest of all times on the female side. She's not just good, she's one of the best to ever do it. And we kind of said to her, sweet, we'll just leave it in your very capable hands to figure out who we should get as our second girl. And had a few conversations with a few people. The other thing about it's a good team, but Cara's just had her second baby. I'm coming back from injury. James has 4,633 things he has to do in a day. And Em's young. She's obviously coming back from an injury as well. What it's allowing us to do is, I think our attitude towards the season is we want to have as much fun as possible while we do this. I think we can podium. I'm sure we still want to do as well as we can, but it's a big part of it is to allow us to kind of go into the season with a lot less stress and pressure on our shoulders of individual, and also just I can take my rehab a little bit slower. Cara can kind of come back from her second pregnancy a little bit slower. Same as Em's so young as well. It's a really great, for a young athlete, I've always said this, the best years I've had in terms of development as an athlete have been the 2 years I went team. And it's just, it allows you can grow so much. If you do it right, you can grow so much as an athlete over that year. And then, I know that the initial conversations were we're just going to have a lot of fun. This will be allowed, I guarantee we're all so competitive that by the time it gets to the point here, we'll be like, fuck this, we're trying to win. Yeah, it's cool. It's a really, really cool group of people. I'm really excited. Obviously, James and I are really good mates, and Kara's a legend. I've known her for a very long time. So it will be like, we'll have a great team dynamic with that crew as well. Like, I think it's going to be a really fun year. And yeah, hopefully we can pull off a podium.
Oh, surely. I mean, Emily, you got how many years experience between you three? She's just going to lap that up, man.
Yeah. I don't even know. James 5 times, 7. Kara probably like 11, 12. Like, it's 20 plus years of CrossFit game, 20 plus games caps between the three of us, and then it's really cool. Like, I'm stoked for M, because I just do know how much of an impact it can have being in an environment like that with teams. Like, it does it to me massively every time I've done it. So yeah, be going.
And that's just opened up 2 spots on the podium again for individual. So how exciting is that going to be? Hopefully see Caitlin Van Zyl back out there pushing for that podium, because she just missed out last year. That's going to be exciting.
It's good as well. Like, she looks good at Down Under. Maddie Sturt. I reckon Maddie's. Look, I'd love to see Caitlin and Maddie get spots. Yeah. Like, I love both those girls. They're awesome. Especially, like, Maddie's just been fucking so close for so long. Jay obviously crushing it. Be cool to see the two of them get to go and do a year together. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, 100%. Get her back to the games. Are you guys gonna come together? Because you're quite scattered. Because you're down South New South Wales, James and Cara Brisbane, Gold Coast.
Cara Goldie, M's Townsville, and M and I are going. I don't know when M's going, but I'm probably last week of Feb gonna move up to the Goldie, do open and quarters up there. So sort of spend 5-6 weeks, and then so I've got a place short term up there for that kind of 5 weeks. It will, whether I stay up there or come back down to Sydney and kind of fly in, fly out, will be based on whether I'm out of the place that I'm in now on the 8th of Feb. So, but I'm looking for places at the moment with some mates. If we can find a decent house down here, I'd rather just get set up. So I'd rather just kind of like commit to being New South Wales, like Sydney based, and I'll just fly up once a fortnight, I'd say, basically fly up. We've got a reserve that's based up there as well on the Goldie. And so I know he can just kind of jump in and do, I mean, I'm lucky that I have the most team experience out of that group. So I would feel comfortable with them training with a reserve so that they're getting those reps in on the worm and stuff like that. Just that. And then knowing that then I can kind of jump in and slot in and, adjust my speed to kind of do that synchro. And then I love the worm. It's one of my favorite pieces of equipment. So I'm very comfortable kind of just slotting in on that when I need to. But I would like to be based up there. And obviously, leading into semi-finals, I'll be up there for a good kind of 3-4 weeks beforehand. Leading up to the games, I'm sure I'll be up there for kind of like 6 weeks. I'm sure we'll be in the States. Obviously, because Kara's Mayhem and I think M's Mayhem as well, we'll probably go and do our pre-games training camp at Cookville at CrossFit Mayhem, which will be pretty cool.
That'll be loose, because you'll have Tori in there and you'll have CrossFit Mayhem there. That'll be a hell of a camp.
Oh yeah, fuck yeah.
Let us know if you need some media crew to tag along.
It'll be a good fun camp. It'll be a good fun camp too. But I mean, they've been awesome to work with, Mayhem. I can't sing their praises enough. Like, I'm obviously a training plan athlete. Yami's my coach, and Yami will remain my coach for the duration of the season. We will be branded as a Mayhem team. We're Mayhem Thunder from Down Under, and we will be a Mayhem team. But they were so good in working with James and I, and then James is just James. But in working with like both of us being part of that Mayhem team, part of that Mayhem group, but not essentially being Mayhem athletes, which is, they were really cool. And like, they were phenomenal to work with. And obviously, like, Rich is a fucking legend. Like, he's such a good dude to train with, hang out with. I really enjoyed the times that I've got to compete against him and spend a bit of time with him. So it'll be really cool getting to kind of go and do that training camp with him, but not in like a competitive environment. We're actually trying to beat each other. Yeah. So it'll be. Yeah. And I mean, like, I just think we're going to do it like, I'm really excited because I feel like we're going to get that response where people are going to be like, Khan and James don't even really do CrossFit anymore. And like, the last time James and I teamed up was when we did Waterpalooza 2022. And there was the same thing. I remember listening to like the podcast where they're ranking the teams. They're like, Khan and James's teams do shit. Like, they don't even train. Like, they do this. Khan's just been traveling. James has been partying like this. And then we ended up comfortably taking second and pushing those boys with that first. And the two of us, like, we just got off a flight to get there. We were drinking the whole fucking weekend. We just had I just think we bring out the best of each other as athletes and people. And with a dedicated year, like working towards a team goal, I just think it's going to be cool to see how quickly we get written off and then hopefully prove everyone wrong.
I honestly fucking hate listening to some of those American podcasts. They got no idea, man.
Oh, bro, I'm fucking excited for the season. This is going to be good. Put the leave in now, bro. We're full live stream mode all week. It's going to be sick.
Anyway, like we're going to leave it there. Guarantee we will get Mr. Porter back on. Hopefully at Torian. We'll catch up with you in person. We're going to get everyone on.
Either do you know what? I'm fucking excited to be on the competition floor at Torian.
Yes.
Like, it's been 3 years. It'll be 3 years. I didn't compete. I wasn't there 22 because I was in Iceland. I wasn't there last year injured. Being on that floor, fuck me. Like, I just got goosebumps. I got like a little bit of a fluttery, tight, got a bit emotional thinking about getting back out there. It means a lot to me competing in front of a home crowd. I love it. I'm pumped. So it'll be good.
Good.
Oh, and it's by far the best semi-final across the globe.
It's good. Dude, Berlin was pretty fucking good.
Bro, I said that once as well.
It was hectic.
Yeah.
Torian event is the best of all the events, but what made that one so insane is because one, like the top 20 there are all games caliber. Like the top 20 guys, top 20 girls are all games caliber because they've got 60 there in Europe. And then the stadium is such, like it was packed because it's international. It was packed from the Friday right through to the Sunday, completely full. And you just have like, there's the Spanish section. So when a Spanish athlete comes out, they go mental. Then you got the German section, they go section, the Italian section, the Icelandic section. Like every single event is like the fucking final event, which is wild because it's so international, because there's all these different, like people are basically rooting for their person from their club or from their country. It was a fucking cool event.
Yeah, 100%. And I think like they need to bring back the Invitational because that was like go for your country. That was sick. Man, we said at the top of the show, I think before we started recording, that and if you've been watching the last couple, the way we end these now, instead of the horrendous workouts which just were murdering us, we are moving on to a question the previous guest has asked for our current guest, and the previous guest doesn't know who the next guest is. So this one comes from
Grace Walton.
Grace Walton.
Alrighty, what do you got for me, Gracie?
She wants to know your all-time party trick.
That's not safe for work, boys.
Oh,
Fair conversation.
what was that? Sorry,
There's an
Conversation.
off air.
Rogie. Listen,
I can drink a beer very fucking quickly. I can neck a pint of beer very quickly. Let's go with that one.
rightio.
All right,
We'll leave it there.
We'll get the real answer in the DMs, hopefully.
All right, mate. Hey, look at that. 0 hours left on the card.
Yeah.
So
Before we do cut away, is there anyone you want to give a quick shout out?
My coach Yami and my physio Buzz. Obviously, all my sponsors: LSKD, Frog Grips, True Protein. Before You Speak Coffee, I wouldn't be able to do what I do. I wouldn't have been able to come back from the injuries that I've had without the support of those sponsors, because they have allowed me to basically be a professional athlete and to, in a sport that is still professionalizing itself. I'm very, very grateful to have them in my corner. And then also, my coach Yami and Buzz from Proform, two people that have been with me this whole, year and worked very closely in getting me back to health. I'm 34 masters this year, boys. Believe it or not. I know. This is where you say, you don't look 34.
24?
Yeah. So I wouldn't have the longevity that I've had. I wouldn't be able to bounce back from such a catastrophic injury so late, or two pretty catastrophic injuries so late in my career without them. So immeasurably grateful for those people.
Awesome. That's perfect. Hey, we're very thankful and appreciative of your time today. Thank you for coming on, having a chat with us, bro. All the best for the season, and no doubt we will see you out there at some stage on the circuit.
Sir, thanks, boys.
Beauty.
Easy, brother.
All right, man. Take it easy.
Catch you later.